Welcome back. If you missed the last episode, we ripped off the rear quarter panel. I think to everyone's surprise, really, there was more rust under there. Super easy to handle though, so we're not worrying about that today. The actual quarter panel rocked up. So look at that. Thanks to Steve from Evenflow Bodyworks in Ashmore, all the way down on the Gold Coast. Steve hooked us up, seen that we needed a new rear quarter panel, sent this over. Absolute legend, straight as a die. Look at the body line on that. Look at that, you can just see it. Just the body line is just straight as all hell. Just got to tack on that old section there from the previous one, as well as I have the replacement panels for the lower sections. Ready to go on. They won't go on until it's mounted on there, just so the placement is all done and correct. Speaking of getting this done, today I'm going to start finishing off the roof so the roof can go on one bit at a time. I get excited when I pull shit off and I just want to fix all this now, but we're gonna do the roof section first, so we're just gonna finish the roof section off. So from B pillar onwards, the car's good. Last episode, where I left it, this bit was still to go on. So I've done that section, that's all measured out. Final cuts and a couple of welds on that to get that in. We'll be fixing up the lower section of the B pillar, and then we'll be moving over to the parcel shelf, fixing up. You can see here, rust is eaten away there, so I'm gonna be replacing that section. That's easy done, and then we'll be making up the rear panel that goes along there, and the roof goes over that. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So now that section is done, we're heading over to the parcel shelf. This should be an easy one. It's basically just an L-shaped piece of metal. I'm just going to cut this section out, bend it on the edge of the table and slap it in. Then once this piece is done, we can then make this piece that stretches all the way across here. But the only thing is, I don't have a sheet of scrap metal long enough to go across there, so I'm going to have to use two pieces, probably weld them in the center to get all the way across there. Doesn't matter what it looks like because it's covered by the roof, just needs to be a little bit structural. And then after that's done, it's pretty much go time for the roof. Roof can slot on. I'm just gonna have to tidy up these pieces here where there's still pieces of the old roof. So I'm just gonna get the die grinder out and get rid of those bits, and then put the roof on and hit it with the hot metal glue gun. And it was right about here that plans went in a little different direction. I can explain this. An impromptu buy, I just had to go out and get it because the XG firewalls for the tray wall is the exact same as the XA, and it's going to save me a hell of a lot of the time. I don't need to make that back panel. I can just use this one here. But I'll get this off the trailer, I'll roll it in, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this.
12 seconds later.
So whilst doing that metal work on the rear wall of the XA, having to make my own sections and join those two pieces along the back, and it's just getting a bit dodgy, and it wouldn't have looked as nice. And then this popped up. XG Falcon UTE. Now, I wouldn't have looked at it, but it was dirt cheap. I paid 600 bucks for this thing, and I just sold the FMX transmission for 400 bucks. So it cost me 200 bucks. And there's already a few things on this that I've seen that I can make way more than my money back off of. Let's have a look at her. Let's see what we can use on this iconic piece of Australian motorsport history and see how far it takes us in the XA build. Alright, so first up is the interior. Let's have a look inside here. We've got character. So first up we have this beautiful XG bench seat. Oof, absolutely stunning. We have the manual center console. Unfortunately, no manual pedal box, which would have fetched a few dollary-doos, but that's okay. But you might be thinking, well, I'm showing you the interior because I'm not going to use any of the interior in the XA. This has aircon, which means it's got the aircon heater box, it's got everything there, it's got the TX valve, it's got all that gear there. It's considerably smaller than the Landau box, which I had originally in that, and all the connections are going to be intact. So I'm going to use these same connections, the same air conditioned control panel in the XA. I'm going to graft these into the dash, which won't be too hard because that whole dash area will just be steel, essentially, because I'm putting the digital dash in. Everything will have to be made from scratch. That's saving me thousands of dollars just in that. So now I have aircon, all the linkages, everything's there, everything works, everything's hooked up, it's connected. All I need is the air compressor on the engine, which I will get much later on. But as you can see, that is the piece that I'm currently making for the XA. That bit of steel there, and that is identical. So it's going to be much easier to cut this one out, put it in that, and use that. The main reason I bought this was because, let me just show you first. So this section here, where the rear walls sort of join together, you can see the metal's totally shot. Everything's rusted away. It's totally away. That floor where the fuel tank goes, that floor has to be replaced because there's holes all through that. And you can just see in the edges there, there's holes everywhere. It's cooked. And to replace that would have mean making all of that, and it was so much time. But this XG, exact same. Let's have a look though. It looks good on the photos. I haven't seen it in real life because there was a lot of stuff in the tray. So, a whole bunch of doors. Power steering lines. Another steering column here. Actually, let me rip all this out so we can have a proper look at the rear wall. How much better does that look? So, straight away you can tell there's no real rust. The only rust is along these edges, which I'm not concerned about because I could probably cut half that away and just seam mold it all the way across. All along where it meets the wall is bang on. You can even see around the edges here where it all meets to the tray and the wheel arc. There's no real rust there. There might be, I don't know, maybe speaking too soon, there might be some rust under there, but it looks nowhere near as bad as the Falcon. What I'll do is I'll overlay the XA with what we're seeing right now and you can be the judge. So, happy about all that. And we've even got the EFI fuel tank, which might come in handy for when the XC arrives. This can go in the XC because the XC having a 2JZ fuel injected means I'll need an EFI tank. And if this one is all good, it's got no holes in it, it's got no leaks, then we're good to go. That is certainly not all. Whilst putting the ratchet straps on this to load it up, I notice it's got disc brake rear end. we've got disc brake rear end on this thing. Now I'm not sure, but pretty sure that'll bolt straight onto the 9-inch. Maybe not, it probably won't even be anywhere near it, but I think it might. And if it doesn't, I've got disc brake rear end, I can sell that, I can make my money back on this. Easy as. So, like I said before, all the stuff for the aircon is there, and we've got the power steering box right here. Now, power steering boxes, I could sell that today for 250 bucks. What I'll do is I'll check it out, see how good a quality it is, and I'll match it up to the power steering box that I have, and see which one's better, and obviously keep the better. So we've got the power steering box, the air conditioning situation. We've also got this alloy bumper bar here, which I'm sure I could throw on Marketplace and get, I have no idea how much those are worth. So let's start tearing into this thing.
2 very boring minutes later.
All right, so I've had a look around and determined that the first thing that really needs to happen to this is I need to get this rear window out so I can start doing all the spot welds for the pieces of metal along here. And the sooner I pull this thing out, the sooner I find out if I'm right about it all just going straight into the X8. Maybe it won't, but I've measured it up and it's pretty bloody close. Rear window out, start taking this shit away. Alright, so the panel is off and was it worth it? Probably not. That took hours. That took a very long time to do, to get all that stuff out of the way. It wasn't spot welded in the same way that this one was spot welded. It's got that 90 degree at the bottom of it instead of just being flush where the outer panel goes. So that bit of an effort to get that one out. On the plus side, now I've got the seats out and everything else out of there. I can see the back wall, and the back wall is perfect along there. I do have a thought though, as the XG comes all the way up to here, because obviously the doors are nowhere near as long as the coupe/ute doors. See on the XA, the door jamb sits all the way back there and this comes to here. Now, ideally, I would like to replace this. Well, I've got to replace this. That exact same panel is behind this section of the rear quarter. So, I think I'm going to cut a huge hole there and just have a little peeky. But not now. I don't want to keep getting distracted because it's getting late and I just want to see how well this panel goes with the back of that. And if it pretty much just goes straight on, then it's confirmed. Go and get yourself an XG roller if you're restoring an X Series Falcon Ute. There we have it. So it is a little bit different. However, I'm still going to use this because it is identical. They did not change the dimensions for 20 straight years. That is a press fit into that section there. Obviously, it's not lining up at the moment because, well, look at that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that 90 degree bend that was here. I'm going to make that it's 90 plus 45.
Lot of boring math later.
A 135 degree, so extra 45 degrees. That should actually sit it pretty bang on. So it'll run along the bottom there and then I'll come up and meet with these bits here. And once the roof is on, probably even before the roof is on, I'm going to start taking all the stuff I need out of the XG so I can get it out of here, sell what I don't need, make my money back on this thing, and then just hammer on with the XA. And I think, like I said, this thing is going to save me a hell of a lot of time. I think getting this XG has probably been one of the best things for the XA. It's cheap, it's one purchase, and it covers a whole range of things. next to getting a donor car, but these days getting a donor car is just ridiculous. You're paying $5 for something that's just as rusted out as what you have. But I'm gonna leave it there. Next episode, more XG content, stripping out the XG, seeing if things will fit in the XA. Maybe my rims will be here for the XA, they might arrive. But if you like the video, if you learnt something about XGs, give us a like. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. I'd love for you to see what else that we're gonna get up to. And when the XC arrives, I'd love for you all to see what we're doing with the XC. And I will see you guys next time.